Hello, and welcome to Shift is Happening. It is great to be back with you. I've got a concept that undergirds everything that this work is about, but I want to make this massive shift simple, practical, and accessible to you. Because if you just start practicing it, you'll use your consciousness to change your life. And I'm going to start right off the bat. The topic I'm covering today is how to become your ally. How to become your ally. It's the most important thing you can do. And most people are not their own allies. What they are is they are identifying with their thoughts, and their thoughts are often critical, and their thoughts they don't take them positive places, and then they believe those thoughts. They believe that they are those thoughts, but they're not. We can interact with those thoughts in a way as our ally, and when we do, everything changes. I'm going to break that down for you. But I want you to leave this episode becoming your ally. Okay, first off, you have no guarantees that anyone else will ever be your ally. You just don't. You might have one now and they could die. You might not ever have another ally. And likely you do. But you are you. And if you are alive, that becoming your ally is going to make your life work in a way that is dramatically more impactful and positive than being your critic or being your automatic thoughts. And I'm going to teach you how to do it. Follow me now. The first thing that one needs to do is start noticing their thoughts. We already do because we know that we have them. And a lot of people say, I'm just really tired of this inner critic. I live with the inner critic. Well, the inner critic is not you because you are hearing them. You're hearing those thoughts. So that alone, separating from those and noticing, when you notice, you're already on your way. But step 2 is interacting with those thoughts in a way that serves you. So thoughts come from our past, from self-protection, from being hypnotized from our culture, from advertising, from our parents, from our teachers, from our influences. And those are all of the places our thoughts come from. So therefore, by being all of those things, they are not inherently us. What we are is the backdrop, the observer, the awareness that takes all of that input in. But unless you've separated from your thoughts, you're not even acting as that entity. So you are hypnotized by all of those influences, and that's how you're existing. You are a reactor. When you evolve into being the one who notices and is aware, everything changes. So let's begin by having an example of a thought that comes in that says, oh boy, there's 50,000 other people doing a podcast, just to take a random example that doesn't apply to anyone I know. That thought does not serve me. If I'm doing a podcast, if I'm doing a YouTube channel, that thought factually does not serve me to do that. So now I'm going to interact with that thought and say, that may be true, but that thought doesn't help me to do what I'm doing. No, thank you. It comes back. Well, but blah, 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 blah. That doesn't serve. That will not help. No, thank you. The more I do that, because I am my ally, because I'm stuck in this body and no one else is going to take it over for me. And if I have a message to send out, the best thing I can do for myself is to get the things out of the way that will get me to do my dream on earth. So that thought, now that it's separate from me, I can say, no thanks, not serving. And you can categorize thoughts into serves or does not serve. That's a simple way to become your ally. Here, let's just take another thought. I was just on vacation, putting on a bathing suit. I look like a 51-year-old woman in a bathing suit. So if something from somewhere tells me that that's not attractive, I can say back, well, I am a 51-year-old woman in a bathing suit. That looks pretty good for a 51-year-old woman, which is what I am. If something somewhere tried to convince me that I'm supposed to look like a 28-year-old, then that's not a reliable source, or that doesn't serve in any way. So, damn, I look good as a 51-year-old woman in a bathing suit. That's a thought that serves me. Now I am being my ally, because putting on a swimsuit and playing with my family is a better me, and a me that I want to be. So my interaction with my thoughts does that. You can take 10,000 examples. The main simple difference is rather than accepting these thoughts automatically and reacting to them is interacting with them. No thanks. Okay, so that's simple. You can take that with you now, start doing it. Your life will change within a month. You just have to do it. You can't hear me just say it and go, everything I talk about, if you do it, if you embody it and practice it, is reprogramming your entire consciousness. So don't just listen, go do it, and this will change things. In a week, you'll be different. And it's worth it. Okay, second point. Another skill we need to develop in order to be our ally is what I call zooming out. This is crucial. So when someone, let's say, I use these examples a lot, but it's common for people who battle with eating and weight or any of that. In a moment where you've gone to let's say a company picnic or some kind of event, and you want to eat more healthfully, you have this goal of maybe losing weight or just feeling better or lowering your cholesterol, but here you are at this picnic and there is the dip that you're in love with right in front of you. Not to mention, you've had a really hard day. You couldn't find an outfit that you felt good in. Your self-esteem's taken a little bit of a hit. Your willpower is low, and now here's this dip and these chips in front of you. If you stay zoomed in that moment, it's you and the chips, and you don't feel great, and the dip, and you're going to eat it. You just will, because that day led to that moment. And if you're a human being, low on willpower, a little bit low on self-esteem, in a social setting that's uncomfortable, and your favorite things there, you're going to soothe yourself with that food. Anyone would. There's nothing wrong with you. That's just what you'll do. But if you zoom out, here's what I mean by that. You zoom out and go, okay, I love this dip, and I also have this goal. I also want to feel healthier. I also want my cholesterol to lower. I also want to be able to keep up with my active kids. What do I do with these two realities, this dip and that goal? Now, when you've zoomed out, you have all the parts of yourself relevant to the situation. Now you are the awareness, because you're not just in the tiny moment reacting to the dip. Now we're back here and you go, all right, how do I reconcile these two things, the dip and the goal? This awareness that you are has the capacity to make a decision that is okay and tolerable and good for the moment, that can satisfy the need for the dip in some way, and also still can continue on their journey to reaching their goals. So that might look something like, all right, well, I really love that dip and I want to have some. I've earned it. I've worked so hard today and blah, blah, blah. And also I don't want to sabotage my goal. How do I make those two things happen? And then those two parts of you can make a deal. How about if I put on my plate 1 medium-sized scoop of that dip and 5 chips, and I add to it fruit and some vegetables and other things that I like. They're not quite as delectable as that dip. So I get to have it, but I do not sit and I don't come back to it. I don't keep binging on it. I savor it when I have it and I enjoy it. And then I will enjoy that. And then I will leave there knowing that I'm still on track for my goals. And then I'll like myself a lot. How does that sound? Check with both parts of yourself. The one that gets the dip. Yeah, I think I can live with it. One that wants the goal. Yeah, that sounds good. Now you can make a conscious decision as your ally. And then you leave that picnic so elated because you did it. And you didn't deny yourself the thing. You got it. You just got the right amount that would satisfy enough and keep your goals intact. If that person never zoomed out, we know what would happen. We just know what would happen. And it's not because there's anything wrong with that person. It's because when our willpower is down, when we have been working really hard and we feel like we aren't getting enough joy, we're in a joy deficit, then something inside of us is going to take us to something that's right there to give us joy, because we're not going to live without it. So there's nothing wrong with the person who does binge on the dip, except if they had this skill, if they had zoomed out, they wouldn't find themselves in that situation. So cultivate zooming out. It serves you. It helps you get your needs met in the moment and helps you grow into the person and the life you're in love with. Okay. Third thing. This was sort of inherent in what I said a moment ago, but this is another really crucial point. Anything that comes up for you gets acceptance. You are becoming your ally. So anything that comes up for you, judgment, sadness, self-hatred, regret, anger, if you can see and identify those feelings that you're feeling and go, and then add compassion for the fact that you have to feel them, that can neutralize it and it can help you move forward. So let me just dive in a little bit deeper on that. What most people do when they feel sad or self-judgment or self-doubt is then they punish themselves on top of it. That's a negative feeling, and then they judge themselves harshly, and that's another negative feeling on top. It's hard enough to feel the negative feelings that we have to feel in life. We all have to. It's a part of us. It's a part of being alive. That alone is hard. So we're going to have that. I just experienced it myself when my kids are graduating, and I look back on all those parenting years and wish I would have been a little bit more perfect in all those ages and stages, but I'm not. I wasn't, because I was learning. So I was super sad and regretful. And that's part of life at that stage. It's going to happen. So if I had sat there and judged myself on top of it, it would have been horrific. Instead, what I did is feel sad that I have to experience that and feel it anyway. But if we're going to become our allies, then when we have to feel a difficult negative emotion because we're alive, then what we need to add is compassion for the fact we have to feel that. So let's talk about the really low down dirty stuff. Let's say you wake up and you feel just totally depressed. Don't want to go to work, don't like your life, don't like your house that you're living in, or don't have any will to get out of bed at the moment. It doesn't help to judge yourself for that at all. It'll keep you in bed. The one thing you can do is accept that you feel that way and add compassion for the fact that you feel that way. The moment you say to yourself, this sucks, I'm so sorry that you're feeling this today. What kind of love can I give you while you're feeling this? That has the power to turn you into your ally. And maybe then you think, well, I really do need 15 more minutes. So now you've zoomed out. I'm so sorry you feel so depressed. And how might I serve? Well, you get 15 more minutes, honey, because you need it. This is horrible. And I'm going to let you wallow. I'm going to let you cry. I'm going to let you feel as low as you want to. But when the timer goes off, I'm going to do something kind, and I'm going to get you a cup of tea. I'm going to get you out of this bed. I'm just going to get you a cup of tea or coffee because that'll give you a little bit of a boost. And then we're going to go for a walk. And I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to let you feel your feelings, whatever. That compassion can move you 1 degree of a step. And when you're that depressed and low, 1 degree is everything. But adding judgment, adding self-hatred on top of it will do the exact opposite. So this principle is no matter what I'm feeling, accept it. Anything we resist persists. But if we accept how we feel and then give it compassion, it gives us the power to take 1 degree turn, a 1 degree turn or a 1 step in a positive direction. Okay, I'm going to go into a couple of examples of how this helps. First one is in, let's say, a relationship struggle where maybe you've been in a relationship after a relationship that hasn't worked. And now you're in let's say it's a 3rd or 4th one that's not working. So easy to judge yourself, but it doesn't help. It will not help you. So the best thing you can do is have compassion for the fact that your relationships aren't working. Man, this is so sad. I can't seem to make a relationship work. I either pick the wrong people or I fall into this pattern or whatever. That is true. So accept that. Once you've accepted yourself and have compassion for yourself, then you can say, it's so hard to lose relationships over and over. I'm so sorry. How might I serve? How might I help? That allows you to open up to look at how you're feeling. What's going on? Look at what is the pattern. Because if that's happening, there is some unconscious pattern that's going on, but it's only when you care about yourself that you're willing to look at it. And it's only when you're willing to look at it that you can have an inkling as to why this keeps happening. Okay. Any big change requires vulnerability, but compassion opens you to be able to be vulnerable. It's the only thing that does. We don't open our hearts to someone who can hurt us unless, not intentionally, unless an unconscious pattern is going on, do we do that. But if we have our wits about us, we don't open our hearts to someone who's judging us. So when you have compassion for yourself, then you can open it up and examine why, what's going on, what am I doing, what seems to be the pattern, and then you can get an insight, okay? Let's say, as another example, you're around a person who intimidates you. When someone intimidates us, we tend to go into people-pleasing automatically. If we don't zoom out, and if we're not our own ally, we'll immediately try to start pleasing them, and we'll be like a little puppet. They're the puppeteer and we're the puppet trying to, fit into their little box that'll make them happy. When we zoom out, we can go, oh, okay, what am I feeling? What is going on here? I am feeling intimidated, and now I'm behaving in this way that's all about pleasing that person. I'm not checking in with myself at all. All right, well, how do I actually feel? Well, I feel very uncomfortable. Okay, then you might need to put up a boundary and just give yourself some time and space and give yourself some distance. Okay, since I've zoomed out, now I can do that and go, all right, I'm going to excuse myself. I need to go to the bathroom. Give yourself 10 minutes, 5 minutes. How now do I want to interact with this person? Now you're becoming conscious and you're being your own ally. Well, I don't want to be someone's marionette. So now I'm going to go in and I'm not really going to talk about these topics because I don't feel comfortable. So if they venture into that, I'm going to say that that's not something I'm really prepared to talk about right now. But what about this other topic? Bring up another topic. And if they're not interested in that, you can always go get food and not return to that conversation. You don't have to put yourself in a place where you're going to feel intimidated and manipulated. So you have a chance to leave. Zooming out and having compassion for your own feelings is taking you to where you need to go. Okay, I have another example. This just came up with a girlfriend, actually, and she and 2 other girlfriends went on a trip. And sometimes with 3 people, it can be uncomfortable. She sensed that there was a little bit of jealousy from one friend, and it was creating animosity that was coming towards my friend. And in this animosity, she first of all zoomed out, examined, have I done anything wrong? The answer was no. Legitimately, no, she hadn't done anything wrong. But when she asked, the person got more uncomfortable, more tense, and sort of increased. So she got the clue that that friend does not want to look at what they're feeling. They just get more hostile when she asks. So, all right. So she felt more hostility. And again, zoomed out, did I do anything wrong? The answer is no. So if she's not doing anything wrong and there is hostility, the self-compassion says, well, you haven't done anything wrong, so you don't need to take on that person's tension. It's not your job. If she is mad at me, she has an obligation to either tell me or answer me when I ask. And if she won't and I keep getting hostility, then I can separate. I can create distance because I have not done anything to harm. Okay? So being her ally, being her own ally, kept her in a safe position. And if there are future encounters with that person now as her ally, she can ask herself, am I ready to be in a situation with that person? She knows her well enough to know that she will probably pretend nothing happened, but something did happen. And so she has to ask herself, do I feel safe enough to go into that lion's den? And what will it do to me if I do? And when she examined that, she thought, well, if I'm in that lion's den and I'm feeling attacked again for something I didn't do, I'm going to start spiraling in my own thoughts. It's going to take me to a negative space, and that will lead to some really self-hatred. So being her ally, she now can make a decision that if she's invited to a gathering with that person, she can find a way to recreate a way to celebrate that thing in her own way that keeps her safe. We do not have to take on someone's animosity. We don't have to take on someone's intimidation. We do have to look at ourselves and go, did I do anything? Am I contributing in any way? And if we're not, we protect ourselves from hostility. We have every right to do that. Okay. So those are a couple of examples. Maybe a third one is just when no one's around and one's own thoughts are just automatically negative. Imposter syndrome, or just plain old self-judgment, or a lot of people have body image issues. Let's talk about body image issues. The self-acceptance piece is that we're going to be in this body and no one's going to change it for us. Nobody has the power to change it for us. So if we can't stand the body we're in, we have a problem. Now, where might that have come from? It might have come from television, videos, social media, fashion industry, our parents judging certain types of bodies that are better than the others. None of those are facts. Bodies are bodies. They come in all different kinds of body types and shapes and ways of being. Some people are thicker, some people are disproportionate, some people are very nicely proportionate, and none of us get a choice. The only choice we get is what we do with the body that we're given. So if any of us are judging our bodies, the first thing is to be our body's ally and just love it. Now, that can't make you automatically feel love for it. That's not what I mean. I mean, treat it with love, starting with what you allow those thoughts to say to your body. If they say, you're fat and wrinkly, you say, yes, I am for now, but I might do something about it, and I don't need to hear what I already know. And this is just a body, and I can take better care of it. Yes, I got my mom's ankles. What am I going to do about it? Nothing. So I better love them and just do the best I can with those. And how about I flatter the other parts of me? It's the interaction and talking back with those thoughts that will tell them, don't keep signaling me with self-hatred. This body is the one you've gotten in this lifetime. It's not going to switch into having someone else's ankles, but I can care for it. I can actively care for it by allowing or disallowing certain thoughts to hurt it. That's a first act of love. That's your first statement to the universe that I will not let whatever this is, my own voices, continue to hurt me and continue to hurt my body. And that's an act of love. It's a statement. When we change the trajectory that we've been on, it's more than just a shift that happens internally. It is a statement that goes out to the universe that this is what I am now. I'm going to care for the body I was given. I'm going to find a way to love it more, even if it's just that one thing, those thoughts. Eventually, that can be the step that leads you into, what do I want to put in this body? Do I want to continue to harm it and hurt it with chemicals and artificial sweeteners and actually maybe one day, maybe just one day, today, I'm going to put less of that in it. That's an act of love. That's becoming the body's ally. And then all you have to do is little by little continue to make one more step towards being its ally. In 1 year, that body will be different because there's no battle going on. There's no battle going on anymore. So from this episode, I want you to find 1 or 2 ways to shift into being your ally. Remember that nobody else may ever be your ally. Hopefully that's not true, but it's possible for all of us that we could find ourselves in that situation. We also will not ever have control over what exactly happens outside of us in our reality. So we always only ever have the choice to do for ourselves what serves us when it comes to our thoughts, when it comes to our consciousness, when it comes to our choices. And so we always only ever are in charge of us. And there is so much more we can do that will make our lives amazing internally. It just takes one thing. We have to want to, and we have to do it, not just listen to it. So I hope you do, because I love you. And thank you for being here. This is Shift is Happening. I'm Sheila Winger. Thanks for being here.